Welcome back to the IOTV podcast. We are here in IOTV studios. To my right is Shane Atwell. To my left is Ashley Poole. And to the left of her is Justin McCullough. Justin joined the three of us on a bear hunt in Canada a couple months ago at Buck Country Outfitters up in Saskatchewan. And, man, that was I think everybody agree it was a pretty fun hunt.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolute blast.
But for 12 years, it's always been that way.
Yeah, we had this is going to be a fun one. So it was a not a first time bear hunt, but a first time to Buck Country for you, Justin, and first time ever in the bear woods for Ashley. She's already stretching her neck here. You can see the tension and anxiety building up already.
Flashbacks are coming. Yeah.
So Justin, you're local Oklahoma boy like us. We spent a lot of time together in the last couple of years. Your outfit is No Limit Outfitters.
Yes, sir.
And tell us a little bit about that.
Started it in 2019. My fiance's parents have a pretty big ranch and were nice enough to let me lease some property, and spent the last few years just kind of building it and really trying to manage the ground.
Yeah.
And then met you guys and kind of started focusing a little bit more on content, and it's kind of where it's at right now.
A lot of quail, a lot of bird hunting you do?
Not a lot of bird hunting. Mainly whitetail. We got a lot of predators up there, so shoot a lot of coyotes.
Hogs.
There's
Tons of hogs.
a lot of
Yeah.
pigs.
Yeah, we're surrounded by the lake, so there's a lot of pigs.
And what's one of your favorite types of hunting?
Man, I think bears becoming more and more. Obviously, around here, whitetail is kind of our go-to. That's what everybody does, but man, it's hard to beat bear hunting.
Yeah.
And you just got back from where?
Idaho,
Yep. Bear hunt. How long were you there?
3 weeks.
And it's a little bit different style of hunt than what we were on in Canada.
A lot different. Yeah, it's so I started guiding up there years ago. A good friend of mine, Caleb Davis, he's with Continental Divide Outfitters. We grew up together, and he's been outfitting for, I think, 15 years up there. And I went up there in 2019 the first time, the very first hike, just to the stand. We got like 3/4 of the way up, and I had to tell him to stop. We're just going to a stand. And he gave me a hard time, so I'm like, all right, I'm coming back, and I'm going to win this time. So I spent 3 or 4 years now just kind of training year-round just to be able to go hunt in the mountains because they're pretty unforgiving. So, but, man, it's just such a neat place. You get back in there, and you're looking at country that not a lot of people see and seeing some massive bears. So,
And they do, I mean, you were going to a stand, but you may be after them with dogs. You may be, covering some ground.
yeah, so in the mornings, you'll go out and run dogs. You go out right at daylight, and they have what they call running baits, which are baits that are set really high up in there. So you go in right at daylight, check the cameras, see what the last bear was on the camera, and it could have been 2 a.m., and then cut those dogs loose. They'll catch that track.
When you say high up in the mountain or high up in the tree?
High up in the mountains.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of old logging roads up there, forestry roads, and it's up at the very top.
Okay.
And you catch those bears, they'll drop down after they come eat, and you run those dogs and try to catch them. You don't always catch a bear. They might run 20 miles on a bear and never catch it.
Wow.
So it's pretty intense.
Sounds like it. I know on this last hunt you were on, you sent me that screenshot of 15 miles in a day.
It's like 32,000 steps for the day. It was brutal.
That's good log.
With no bear at the end. So.
But you saw him. You saw the one you were hunting, right?
We did. It was my fault. So I didn't know if my rifle was still zeroed, and we're driving out of the running bait. Caleb spots a bear across the valley, and he's like, "Man, there's a bear." And so we stopped and glassed it, and down below it was the bear that's like, this bear's a legend up there. They've ran it 3 years. Nobody's ever got a shot opportunity. we snuck down the opposite ridge and got 450 yards away. And this bear will go well over 7 foot squared. It's a giant red bear. They can't catch it. They can't kill it. And I didn't want to take a marginal shot on a bear like that. And so Caleb was like, man, I'll run back to the house and get my rifle. It's doped out to 1,300. So his youngest daughter, Ember, and I sit there and glassed and watched this bear for an hour, which I was a little torn on. I'm like, this is kind of cool, but also I was sick to my stomach. I should have been a little more prepared. And so when Caleb got back about an hour later, as he's coming down the ridge, we heard him. So did the bears. They took off. And at one point, the bear stopped a little over 500, had the scope doped, and all I could see was just the top part of his back. I'm like, man, I could spine this bear, but it's marginal. I don't want to do it. So we turned the dogs loose on it and ran it, and that's the day we ended up doing 15 miles. And I got a shot opportunity on another bear. Didn't make a great shot. It was walking and was 350 yards away across the canyon, and
What? You missed?
hit it in the back end. Yeah.
I can't believe you missed a bear.
I wasn't a dead eye shot like you. So
Yeah.
yeah, so no, made a marginal shot. It is what it is. I own it. Shot a little back and came home empty handed.
Dang it.
Part of the challenge, man. That's why we do it.
Well, that's a whole different style of bear hunting than what we just did in Canada, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's intense, maybe in a different way though. I mean, while we're up at buck country, we're sitting, in stands. It's so, when people watch a lot of black bear hunting on TV, there's this idea that, you're just sitting over baits and this and that. But I think with a lot of people who haven't been black bear hunting, there aren't too many places that you can really spot and stalk black bear.
Yep.
I mean, they're, especially up there, it's so big. I think they hunt 500,000 acres at buck country, and it's such a thick timber forested area that that you'd never get on one. You'd never see them. So, like a lot of places, you got to bait them to get them in to see. And it's, to be able to hunt, whether it's whitetail or whatever, we try to, hunt mature animals for a lot of reasons. But I mean, to get that mature black bear, you're very rarely going to sneak up on one.
No.
So, we when we hunt up there, they run baits, whether they shoot a lot of beavers and they'll skin them out. They used to sell the pelts, but that's pretty much gone to nothing. But they put beavers out and they got bait barrels. I think there's a company that started up there that has expired from candy companies and snack companies. They buy all the expired stuff and they bait these bears. And most of their stands are set up, 20 yards and under. So it's, it's a pretty good place, definitely for archery. Gun hunting, it should be a no-brainer. We'll get to that. But yeah, it's intense because of the proximity you are to the bait, and they're literally, all around you. And as Ashley can attest here in a minute, you can get some pretty fun close encounters. So yeah, we kind of going back from the beginning. So the last couple of years, we've got to know you really well, doing a lot of hunting, helping you with your outfit and some land management and getting food plots going, just growing the overall herd and the quality. And when I asked you about going bear hunting up there with us, you were like, I don't even know if I got the question out of my mouth. You're like, yep, when we leaving?
Yep. No hesitation.
Yeah. And of course, Ashley, we just had originally the one tag for us, and so I was going to go film Justin, and Ashley was going to film Shane, and so so on the way there, we go to board the plane.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, hey, we're all in row like 137 seats A, B, C. Justin, you're in row 2. Like, what kind of princess crap is that? you only fly first class. I mean, you're a first class kind of guy. You do everything right. You like quality. You don't half-ass anything, including flying.
So there was a mix-up with my booking agent,
Who is also your fiance.
That's correct. That's my pet name for her. Yeah, I had to get rest so I could shoot a bear the first day. So you had a couple nights to hunt. I wanted to make sure there's some room there for everybody else to hunt.
Yeah.
Well, and he's a big guy, so he needs
That's
a little
Thank
more.
you, Ashley.
That I
space.
understand. Shane, I mean, he could fly
Shane's
in
good.
the bathroom. In the,
Put him in the stowaway.
yeah.
And I also don't need rest to kill on the first day.
That's why you waited until last. You slept all week.
Yeah. So now I had to give you crap about that. It was
Appreciate
funny.
it.
You were a little bit embarrassed when he called and he's like, "Hey, so Maddie got me a first class ticket." I was like, "All right."
Just
Yeah,
wanted to
but-
go ahead and get ahead of it.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
We got him back.
We did.
That's true.
He paid
Thanks,
for
guys.
it.
Yeah. So we get there and it was all good. Yeah, you liked it.
Oh,
I mean,
incredible.
It was speaking of first class. It was your kind of outfit, huh? It was.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a beautiful lodge.
Oh, it's incredible.
I mean, I don't know how many rooms they have. Do you remember? 12?
Yeah, I was gonna say 12.
I think it's 12. Most of them have 2.
Is it?
queen
Yeah, it
size.
might be 12.
or
I was
double
trying to remember
beds.
where the.
Yeah, I don't remember how many it actually sleeps, and then a few of the rooms have just king size beds. Like if couples come, I got one of those with a jacuzzi.
Yeah,
So,
speaking
you know,
of bougie there,
You
bud.
had the, you had the
Let's talk
first
about
class
that.
room for the week.
Yeah, but that's because I have all the equipment.
Yeah,
Fair
that's
enough.
what it
It's-
is. That's
fair enough.
exactly what it
You
is.
you know, one of the whole walls was full of it. One giant table that was full of camera gear, and so 2 or 3 times I've stayed in one of those rooms just because of the equipment. I've yet to have time to get in that jacuzzi tub, so I didn't get to take advantage of it fully. But yeah, so we got there, got everything kind of sorted out, taking care of who was going to film who. Took us out, and Shane and Ashley, you guys set up. I'll let you kind of go through that, and then Ashley will chime in when the sweat starts rolling down her forehead.
Well, our spot was based off of Ty having a, because
Did you get a squeaky chair all of a sudden?
It seems a little squeaky.
You don't even weigh enough.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't have enough. It's like a 3/4 ton. If you don't put 10,000 pounds on it, it's a rough ride.
That's right.
There you go.
But we were set based off of, most of your color phase bears don't get massive, and when you find one that's 300-pound color phase, that's kind of rare.
I meant to look into that. Is a color phase? Do you know? Is a color phase bear? We're talking about black bears, and then you
Yes.
have color phase. So like when you were talking about Idaho, you were chasing a red bear. It's a black bear species as a color phase. Are those
Correct.
genetic defects like a piebald deer or something, or is it
So-
just?
From what I've read and heard, the moisture has something to do with it. Precipitation, amount of moisture they're getting. Now, I don't know the science behind it. That's kind of what I've read and heard, but I haven't broke down the science behind it.
Yeah, but there's 5 or 6 different color phases. Well, this one was a red bear, 300-pounder, and they don't get that big for multiple reasons, but one of them is everybody, just loves to shoot the color phase bears because they're just absolutely beautiful. Not that the black bears aren't, but they're so abundant you can kind of be choosy. So he puts us on a 300-pound color phase with a chevron, and he's like, bear's been in there every day. So we're excited that we're going to go in and set up on this color phase bear, and this thing's coming in all the time. It's going to be slam dunk. And so we go in. I mean, you guys, the ride in, obviously it was, some of these rides our ride was not like yours.
Yeah.
pretty easy trip in, and then we're clearing it out, and Ty's like, what do you think, about 30, 35 yards? And I'm like, sure, okay, yeah.
And this is the first time we've not bow hunted. So
Yeah.
you have a rifle.
Yeah, I got a rifle in hand. We're gonna pop up a blind, put one of the bear nets out, and climb in it, and it seemed a little closer than what he had
Sure
said.
did.
I'm like, man, that seems to be like right there. Sure enough, it was 33 yards. I mean, he almost hit it on the nose, and but it was one of those situations where any further than that, and you're not going to get shot.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's a mixture of evergreens and poplars, and you're just not going to, and you know how that ground brush is, just like that, when you were talking about you're not ever going to sneak up on one of these.
Yeah.
When we were in that open poplar set, from the ground, you couldn't see, maybe 40 yards tops.
Yeah.
So you're not going to sneak up on them for that reason as well. But, it was, these bears, that dark timber just shines for some reason. I mean, they really like to be, on those edges in that dark timber. And this was kind of right where it met, and you just weren't going to get outside of that. And we get settled in. I mean, after you guys dropped us off.
I remember when you can only put so much into a TV episode because of the time constraints on the network. And so a lot of it gets cut out. And I remember setting up, you guys popping the blind up and getting in, and Ty and I kind of walked back, and I was just scoping out the situation and knowing, that this was Ashley's first bear hunt, and, she was a little bit on edge, and, she's like one of our kids. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. Not like I can really say, no, you can't do this, but I was a little concerned on whether or not I wanted Ashley, sitting that close and just seeing. It's not, bear trails are everywhere. You can't spit on the ground and not hit a bear trail, but there was clearly a trail on that two-track.
Under the blind,
Yeah.
I think.
But, yeah, so at the end of it was like, all right, I trust Shane. He's got a rifle. It might have been different if you were bow hunting and didn't have a gun, but I thought, okay, whatever.
I mean, I guess I didn't really, same deal. I felt like, I've got a rifle in my hand. I've been in the woods long enough to kind of read, regardless of the animal, the body language, kind of get a feel for the situation. And then,
And her body language was clearly
I didn't do a very good job of reading hers. But then it got sketchier than I had even planned, real quick. And you guys were, I know you were just out of earshot, and there was already a bear coming in at the barrel. And it was like really cool because, it's midday. You don't expect to see anything for a little while. And she's already like, holy moly, we're on bears already. This is cool. And when she made the comment, I'm going to get to tell my friends I'm 33 yards from a bear. We didn't know that in a matter of another 5 minutes, we were going to be 3 yards from a bear, wishing he was 33.
Yeah.
So, you know how it gets when you get in there and the bears get to moving around and they're pushing each other off of the barrel and they're circling because, one of them comes in and pushes and then that bear circles around. And we were in
The middle of the circle.
right smack dab in the middle of the circle. So every time they wanted to come back through, that trail just happened to go 2 feet from the blind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, still not realizing what we were dealing with. The first bear comes in, he's got a couple of little rust marks, where he'd been rubbing. Black bear, they rub, and that hair thins out a little bit, and it just appeared like little rust spots. So we just called him Rusty. Well, he was the biggest jerk for the next 2 days. I mean, Ty couldn't run him off, and he was going to investigate everything. And Ashley looks out the back window, and here he comes.
So did you hear something?
Well, okay. So we're watching him at the barrel, and he kind of goes off. And I remember we heard sprinting through the woods. I see a flash of black to my right. And I'm like, Shane, what if they come behind us? Shane's like, I remember you were like, I don't think they're going to come behind us. I was like, okay. So we're sitting there. There's nothing at the barrel. And I just hear the slightest twig snap. And I whipped my head, and I look, and there's Rusty staring at me about 5 yards away from behind the blind. And I just grabbed Shane's arm. I said, Shane, there's a bear right behind us. And he whips his head, and he goes, oh, crap. And, yeah.
So did you, the video that's on the show, they'll be able to see is from your cell phone. Did you just already have that out doing what
I had
24-year-olds do on your phone all day? Or
I had it in my lap, and I had the camera set at the barrel.
right, because to see him out the back of the blind, you had to open. You wouldn't be able to film with your big camera.
Yeah, so as soon as I looked back there and saw him, I was like, it was just maybe my 24-year-old instinct to just whip out my phone and record it. Maybe a little bit of, if this goes down, I'll have video proof of it. I don't know what was going through my head. But, yeah, so I whip it out and, kind of thinking that he's just going to, because I moved the back of the blind, so I'm thinking, well, maybe he's going to see me and kind of skirt off. But it entices him a little more, I would say. And, yeah, we're looking out, and he goes along that trail, and when he gets to the side of the blind, you could just see the back of him, and I could tell that he was about the height of Shane sitting there, and that didn't help either. And then he comes around, and at this point, I'm thinking he's going to go to the barrel and eat. Well, he doesn't. He comes around to the front, and he's checking us out, and in that blind, you can see through it, but he can't see in, and so he's moving his head, and he's staring us down, and the whole time I'm just frozen. Like, I don't even know what to think. I don't know what to do. And I feel like with every step or every look he looks at us, I'm like, Shane.
Yeah, she said that about 15 times, and she's digging into the back of my arm. And what like you said, we got to cut a lot of stuff out and just make things fit for an episode. And when he finally decided that he really wanted to see what was going on, he got in close enough and pushed his nose into the corner of the blind, and I just bumped him in the nose with the barrel, hit him right on tip of the nose. I mean,
that was a second time he came in, right?
Yeah, that was the second time.
Yeah,
and
because the second time, so he that first time he goes off to the barrel. Well, then an hour later we hear more sprinting behind us.
Well, hold on. On the first time, he comes around, and he's 5 feet from, or 3 or 4 yards from the blind.
Yeah, I'd say 5 feet was probably accurate when he went outside the window next to me, and he's checking it out, but he's not doing much until he got just past the corner of the blind where the camera can pick him up, and it looks like he's going to go to the barrel, and he makes a couple of steps, and then you can see the pause in his brain that this is more interesting right now than the barrel. So he turned, and he starts, popping his teeth a little bit.
No, that's the second time.
Was that the second?
Yes.
No, not when he bluff charged across.
No, he wasn't. No.
No, on the first one, on the video, he just kind of comes around, and he stops and looks, and it almost looks like he doesn't really bluff charge, but he sort of had that heavy step, and then turns and walks off.
Because I remember as he walked off, I asked Shane, I said, so I'm shaking, I'm kind of stirred up. I said, well, were we in any danger? And Shane's like, nah. Like when he starts chomping his teeth and bluff charges us, that's when he means business. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So that was after you stopped recording, because the end of the video, you said something else to Shane.
Yeah, I said, I am not okay. Because I was not okay. I was not okay.
I remember watching that for the first time. It was, well, and something else got cut out of the video. And we'll get to it. Justin, he killed his bear that first evening. But when you guys got back to when
we met you.
Yeah, when Ty came back, picked us up, and Justin's bear and came back, and then he went and picked you guys up and came back, and I was recording when you guys came back, and Justin's bear's laying there on the trailer, and you guys walk up, and you both just kind of look at it, and you're not really saying much. In the back of my brain, I'm thinking, well, these assholes they're not saying like congratulations or awesome bear. It's like this. It just weird.
It was stoic.
and Ashley, you said, we saw some bears and
I believe I said something to the tune of it got a little sketchy.
Yeah. And I think we'll cut in Ashley, when you edit this, we'll cut in some of this video of her reaction, but she was not okay still. It seemed like she stepped over and sort of broke down into tears off camera, and she was like, I need a hug, and thought she was joking, but
no. Well, the whole time we were sitting there, I love Shane, but I'm not as close to him as I am to you. So like the whole time I'm sitting, and you're like a father figure to me, so just that feeling of like, I was like, I just remember thinking, I just want Tim. Like I just want that safety of like the dad there. So I knew, like, when I saw you, I was going to probably break down and get emotional, because it was, like, after the high had set in, I got a little emotional.
So he comes in the first time, and then goes back out, and they're running back and forth because a sow came in, right?
Yeah. I mean, literally all of this aggressiveness ultimately was going down because there was a sow in there that they're both chasing. They were both fighting over.
There was Rusty and Krusty.
Krusty, and so
this is what happens when you have a girl in the bear blind with you. The bears get names.
A girl and a firefighter.
Yeah,
easy. So they're chasing her around. Well, that's what the second time. When he came in the first time, he finally just wrote it off. He was going to let it go, and he goes back to the barrel. And we had some action coming in and Krusty came in, and they kind of, got their bluff in and figured that whole thing out. And then Rusty stays and Krusty leaves. Well, the second time when she heard the running through the woods, it was Krusty chasing that sow. And they had run off to our right down through the timber and come around behind us. And Rusty wasn't having it. So now he's got to come back past us to go to the action.
Oh, so you're in between them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're in between that boar and sow and Rusty. And so he just starts down the same 2-foot, 3-foot trail that comes past the blind. And he's already a little bit ticked off. And he comes walking down there. And then he's reminded as he gets close to the blind, because you could see, he's coming through, and then he just turns and looks at the blind like, oh, yeah, I got some unfinished business here, too. So that's when he comes in, and he does a couple of bluff charges across us, not at us. He would turn and stay sideways, which was good because he was never making that commitment. And then he did a couple, and he'd pop his teeth, and then he started to come on past, and he just angled right to the corner of the blind. And right there, he starts pushing in on the corner, and she's trying to go out the other corner.
Why don't we have video of this?
Because they don't. I regret it, but
in a panic state, even a 24-year-old.
I was frozen in fear, and I never went to film school, but I don't think they would teach you what to do when there's a bear sticking its nose in the blind to hit record. For some reason, my instant instinct was to just sit there. Well, and when he bluff charged us, I'm sitting there frozen, and tears just start, like, it was just a reaction. Like, tears just flowed down my face. I was like, this is it. When you talk about your life flashing before your eyes, saw everything. Like, and then, you know, he sticks his nose in the blind and he goes off, and Shane starts laughing. And I'm sitting there bawling like a baby. And I'm like, I'm trying really hard not to be a baby right now. And Shane's laughing. He goes, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just as scared as you are right now. I guess this is how I react. But yeah, it was quite and to clarify, you know, I wouldn't well, technically I've been to Alaska on a bear hunt with Greg and Outdoor Solutions. But it was a totally different hunt, and the weather was crappy, and I think I saw one bear from like 200 yards away, and that was it. So going into this Canadian experience, it was like my first bear hunt for sure. So, yeah.
And that wasn't the absolute end of it,
No.
you know, because Ty had other baits to run. He was going to be out of radio and any cell communication for several hours. You guys had already, you know, got it done. And so now we've got a sow and 2 boars competing, and it's getting dark because after I run him off that time, now they're all behind us and they all want to come back to the barrel. And she's like, so are we literally just going to sit here in the dark with these bears? And I was like, well, we don't really have much choice. You want to get out? And she was like, we're going to sit here with these bears. And I was like,
just to be clear, this is what we're doing?
yeah. So I told her, I was like, Ash, if it gets stupid, I'm just going to shoot bears and we'll sort it out later. So she kind of was like, okay.
And it's crazy to me, and the only thing I can really attribute it to is being in a blind where they can't really see you, because, you know, we've hunted there for, I think it's our 11th year, 2012, and especially when we started back then, they've changed the law since, but if you weren't, if you had a firearm with you at all, you had to wear orange, or I guess you can wear white there. And since we were bow hunting and didn't want to wear orange, we just didn't take a firearm. And we'd sit on the ground, 10, 15, 20 max from the bait site. And, you know, we'd have bears walking all around us.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just some being naive on, you know, not have been bear hunting before at that point. And they look, you know, they 99% of the time they know you're there. But we never had one, you know, well, eventually we did, but, you know, never had one bluff charge or really act aggressive or annoyed that we were there.
Now you had the one with Dusty, you know, that because it was a natural blind, just, you know, no actual ground blind that Dusty was in when that, you know, the bear come in, the hey bear moment where Dusty was filming, I think, and one of them tried to come around.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Dusty's face
Yeah.
on that episode. Was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, and you know, they at that blind, we'd always just used, you know, brush to make a blind, and then that particular blind set was like thick brush around the guys. And I think, you know, looking back at all this, that might have something to do with it. The fact that you guys were completely concealed for the most part, and, you know, he couldn't really see what you were. He could smell you, he could sense you, he knew something wasn't right, but not being able to see you guys, I wonder if that had more to do with it, like especially coming and pushing on it to try to figure out what the crap is this, as opposed to before when we just kind of have some brush around us to kind of conceal us, which, you know, talking it through seems ridiculous because they know you're there.
Right.
But I feel like maybe that had something to do with this, you know.
Well,
the last time I hunted on the ground was when a sow got really pissed because of her cubs, and she did mock charge a couple times and got to, I don't know, 5 or 10 yards, big sow, and that was without a gun the last time I ever hunted from the ground. But it doesn't happen, a lot where they really have this kind of reaction that what was the bear's name? Rusty had towards you guys, and I'm just wondering if it wasn't because he couldn't see you guys.
Well, even when we got up in the tree stand, or that next night we got up in the tree stand, bluff charged us a few times, and then when Ty came in to pick us up, I mean, he's sitting there at that barrel, and Ty's revving the engine, honking the horn, flashing the lights, and he won't go anywhere.
That's true. I mean, that bear was just kind of a prick.
Yeah, well, I mean, we left that spot that, the color phase bear that we went in after, that bear had run him off. Since Rusty came in, the color phase bear disappeared and didn't return. So he wasn't even coming in overnight, no camera pics, nothing. And those two bears were pretty aggressive. Like, again, I think just a combination of things, the sow, Rusty being a overly aggressive bear as it was, and then you throw something in there they're not used to seeing, like you said. That's the other thing about, you build that ground blind out of what's laying there, and it's not as obvious.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden there's, is that a Twinkie I need to go squeeze? And they want to come over and check it out. Is it, because they'll eat anything they can. You remember the first time that I ever climbed in the stand in the bear woods, the very first bear that came in, there was a ground blind like the one
Brush
we were
blind.
sitting in, or was it a brush blind? Yeah, brush blind, and they had put chairs in there because we might have sat there. And very first bear comes in, eats my scent control bottle at the base of the tree, just squishes it like a grape, and then climbs in that blind and tears those chairs apart. And I was like, I'm glad we weren't sitting down there. So, it's their investigative nature, is half of it. And then whatever's going on in the situation and the time, whether it's a sow or, whatever they got going.
Because like in Idaho, you guys, it's a little bit different. And black bears in general aren't real aggressive outside of, defending their food or, having a sow that's in heat, right? They're not bears that if you stumble upon, for other than like those two rare occasions, that they're going to be aggressive towards you, right?
No, sow with cubs, but I think in where you guys are at with, was it Rusty? That bigger bear was in there overnight, so he might have been dominant over that bait during the day because he wasn't getting to eat at night.
Yeah.
So trying to push him out of there that's the only time he can get some loving and some food.
That, and I'm sure in Idaho, buck country's bear density. I mean, they
insane.
have to be super competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just not going to go anywhere and see 20 bears in a day. I mean,
No.
there's just so many of them. And I think that contributes to some of it.
Yeah.
So you guys' first evening in the blind was pretty intense. Our first evening in the tree stand was short-lived.
Well, did
Very
you even
short-lived.
make it to evening?
No, no. We were getting picked up when the sun hadn't set yet because. So, Justin, you can walk us through that. What we're still kind of BSing. Just got set up, just kind of talking it through, right?
30, 40 minutes in.
What time did you guys get in? Because you were a trek away from us.
It was. Well, so he shot the bear at just 10, 15 minutes before 4, and we had been, like, once we kind of got settled and looked at the watch, it was like right around 3 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, I think just a little after.
Yeah, so you were 45 minutes plus
Tops.
because
45 minutes tops.
2:04 we had a bear on us. So you guys had dropped us off at 2:04 when our first bear came in, and
You mean 45 minutes
from us.
side by side ride?
Yeah, because you guys winched through. I mean, getting in there was a
Yeah.
to-do.
It's fun. Like we sort of talked about in the episode, half the fun of hunting out there is the ride to and from the stand. just because of it's freaking beautiful everywhere you look, but it's rugged. But yeah, we had just pretty much just got set up, and we were just still kind of talking about where we think they'll come from, and all of a sudden Justin's like, bear. And I was like, I'm looking around, and from over my left shoulder, to our left, you spotted the first bear coming in, and he's
30 yards, maybe.
Yeah. When
30
you spotted him?
30 and closing.
Yeah. Came out of nowhere. I think we had just got done joking too that, man, we're going to have 4 or 5 hours just sitting here before we see anything. And right after that, here he is.
So it's 3 o'clock. And what do you think? You could probably shoot a bear. I mean, I know you could legally, but no problem seeing sights at 9:30.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's same laws there as here, 30 minutes after legal sunset. The difference is the sun, I don't know how to describe that. The track of the sun is the same amount of distance, I guess, but it's lower in the sky, so it takes a lot longer for the sun to go down. So, here when you look at a clock and like, all right, right now is legal sunset. 30 minutes after that, especially bow hunting, if you're in the timber, you might not be able to see your sights at 30 minutes after sunset. But out there, an hour after legal sunset, you have no problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was only, we weren't even close to that though. It was not even 4 o'clock. And so when you saw that bear coming in, I know, he had, come in and turn broadside and walk past us, and in the, for the sake of time on the episode, we didn't get to really play it out. I mean, the bear comes in and then walks off, kind of comes back and, like he's wanting to come back in and goes out. So that kind of went on for 20 or 30 minutes. But at what point did you know, that I'm going to shoot this bear?
I think when I told you, if he comes back in, I mean, I knew he's a good bear, but was also thinking like, man, first hour, first set, even if he's a marginal bear, like he's getting shot.
It's funny because I think most of us, that's so backwards. I'm thinking first day, that's a really good bear, but it's the first hour. Like I might hold off for the week.
Well,
I
you
got
had a
six.
tag. I mean,
including that day, you had 7 more days to hunt.
yeah.
But you thought, man, first day, first hour, like this is awesome.
Yeah, well, I've hunted Idaho for 3 years where we've seen really good bears, and it's like, oh, I'll wait. There's bigger ones, and then nothing. But knowing you had a tag as well, it's like, man, that'd be cool. 3 bears, 3 tags, 1 week. That's pretty epic. So, and it worked out.
Oh, he worked out. You
yeah.
smoked him.
And you just happened to kill the biggest bear of the week in camp, period. So
Didn't plan that, but not mad about it.
It's not like you were, it's not like he was a questionable bear. He was a no-doubter. So
I would assume, so I know their bear season, I think last week was their last week of bear camps. And I should check with Dean and see, but his skull measured, what do we say?
19 and 4.
19, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 19 and 4, I think.
4 or 5, and they go by tenths. So
no, they go by 16ths.
So yeah, I mean, it was a great bear. I would say probably one of the top bears measurement wise that they killed in the camp this year and a lot of years. I mean, and it's, we hit on this a little bit in the episode. What did he tape?
6'9" square.
6'9"
Yeah.
square.
Yeah.
That's a good bear. And it, 350 pounds, which, I mean, when we started hunting there back then, of course, it was either the first, second year they started, we were shooting all kinds of stuff. My first bear probably weighed, I don't know, if he weighed 100 pounds, he probably just ate. Dean literally carried him out on his back like a backpack.
So what would Justin's bear weigh in the fall?
Yeah, so in the spring they've just come out of hibernation, so they've lost a lot of body weight. They'll put on, I would say, I don't know if it's average or what, but 100 pounds or better by the time fall rolls around. So you're really, and I don't know, maybe the older, the bigger the bear is, the more weight they'll put on. So an average bear might put on 100 pounds throughout the summer. The bigger the bear, the more weight they're going to put on. Would that be fair to say?
Well, Dean told me 100 pounds minimum, depending on the structure of the bear, and that some of the bigger bears had put on upwards of 150 pounds.
Yeah, so you're, at that time of year in the spring up there, to judge a bear, you're not looking, obviously, you're not going to shoot a 350, 400-pound bear. It's not going to be a young bear that skulls at, 16 inches. But, you're really, to field judge them, you're looking at the head.
Yeah.
Right? How big a pumpkin head, sort of the size of the ears, the eyes, things like that. I mean, you guys you don't have as much time, like in Idaho, to field judge them a lot. So what are you guys looking at up there?
So the bears there, the bodies, weight-wise, they don't get as big. And I think that's because they're running up and down the mountains, as opposed to those bears on flat land. They're just laying on bait all day. So 300 pounds there is big. You're going more on like what it'll square and then head size.
Okay.
So weight-wise, they don't come close to those bears in Canada.
Yeah.
But I think the bears putting on weight, a lot of that has to do with how often are they on the bait barrel? Is there another boar in there having to fight? What type of pressure are they seeing?
Yeah. And like your bear, because you turned out to be killing the bear for that particular bait site. I mean, he was one of the only ones coming into that spot.
No, there was
two. There was one that was bigger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he was the alpha.
He was one of two that were for sure shooters. I think there was a third one that was smaller, questionable, but Ty was saying that there was, that was one of the two that were for sure shooters. So he made a good choice.
Yeah. Thank you, Ty.
And
Yeah.
So let's talk about your bear.
my bear. So there was
Okay.
so I got Justin killed.
Stop.
She's
And,
wanting to turn the tables. You
yeah.
want to talk about her being nervous. Let's talk about you being nervous.
So I had an opportunity to go ahead and hunt after Justin tagged out. And Dean, I didn't take my bow, didn't have another rifle. So Dean was like, "Hey, I've got a, rifle you can use. It's a Savage. It's chambered in a 300 Savage. It was a 1953
Model
99. Really cool iron sights. It was his dad bought it way back then. And that thing, I guess, has seen all kinds of stuff, and it actually belongs to Dean's son now. It's been passed down. So, we talked about how hard the ammo was to come by. It took him 2 years to find some, and had 2 boxes of it. So I was like, I want to shoot it a whole bunch, and shot it once. It was pretty on. I felt somewhat comfortable. I knew, it wasn't a modern rifle. The trigger was, I felt like a 12-pound trigger that had a 6-inch pull on it. But it's a rifle. And the stands are, 20 yards. I think that one might have been one of the farther stands
It was 22.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Feel better.
I want to help you stretch it out.
So, we go in the second day, get set up. I didn't take any shooting sticks. Things got iron sights. And this is another one of those things that, for time's sake, we couldn't put in the episode. But there's a tree sort of in front of us to the right that had a limb cut off. So, trying to figure out how to be able to hold steady, I could put my left leg over on it and use kind of my knee as a rest. But the bear comes in and kind of like Justin's.
Did you intentionally not take shooting sticks because you were going to be in a tree, or
No, I just forgot him.
oh, you just forgot them?
Yeah, I just didn't think it. I didn't think it through. You know, I'd not gun hunting before out there, just always bow hunting. I just didn't think about it until I got in the tree. And then, you know, we had a bear come in right under us while we were setting up, and then he goes off. He comes in while the gun. Thank goodness he wasn't a shooter, because I had the gun was hanging still in the case on a limb in the tree. The bullets were in my backpack buried. You know, just putting the mic on and stuff, and here comes. I told Justin, I think he had the GoPro in his hand or something, just filming us. You know, kind of getting ready, screwing around, and I said, I just heard one, and he didn't say anything, and I was like, that kind of sounded like a sow. It was just sort of making that clicking noise, that, and all of a sudden I kind of looked down and I'm like, there he is. And Jess was like, oh, I thought you were joking. I was like, no, he's right there. But so anyway, he goes on, and the shooter comes in, and so I have my leg up there, and I'm, you know, propped up, and it's not super comfortable, but it's, you know, 20 minutes that I'm waiting for this bear to come back in and give me a shot. And so I think just between being in that weird position and then not being used to that gun, the next night I shot a bear.
Yeah.
What happened
yeah.
before that?
When?
I know you're old, but your memory isn't going that bad.
So yeah, he.
You skipped a part because a shooter came in, and then we went to the next night.
So I squeezed, I pulled the trigger, and I was trying to just ease into it and, you know, do that sort of let it surprise you, but not really. And I got impatient, and just, I finally was like, you know, I can't miss, right? He's 22 yards. You can miss at 22 yards. Trust me. Yeah, I shot surprisingly far off where I was aiming.
But neither one of you thought the minute you pulled the trigger, I mean, until you looked at footage, you didn't think you'd missed. What did you think?
I wasn't sure. You know, that little gun surprisingly kicks pretty good. I mean, there's no recoil pad on it. And so, you know, when I shot, I knew it didn't feel good. I knew I'd, you know, janked the shot. And the sound, what we know now is the bullet going through the barrel, made an awful loud sound. And the bear, you know, he didn't hunch up or do, you know, a lot of times they'll bark and turn around, like try to get whatever's getting them. And he didn't do that. He was shaking his head and running off. And
So as you shoot the barrel,
I shot the
bear-
barrel
I know.
literally right in front of his face.
Yeah.
When he finally turned broadside, he was putting his nose in the hole of the barrel, which was laid down.
Yeah.
And I shot, the impact was right about an inch above his nose, sort of off to the left of his nose, right in front of his face. And I think it probably only surprised the bear more than me that was such a bad shot.
Yeah, so imagine putting a wash tub on your head and having somebody hit it with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. So he runs off, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Was it a good shot? And Justin's like, oh, yeah. Oh, he was being nice. So we go back and watch the footage, and we're looking at the footage, and it's a little screen, and I'm like, man, you know, you see something, and it's like, did I just shoot him in the face? Like we saw, like this. I don't know if it was the bullet, and I'm like, I don't know what exactly is going on here. And so Ty's dad comes and Skip comes, and, you know, we get down to that tree, and he's like, "Did you kill one?" I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I shot at one. And we're looking at the footage, and he's like, I don't, like, you see the impact before this spot, what I thought might have been the bullet. But the thing is, if that was the bullet, he was either if that was a bullet, he would have just dropped right there, or he wasn't going to be very far. But we saw him run quite a ways after the shot, so we thought, all right, we're either going to find him pretty close or not at all. And we didn't find him. Get back to the lodge, watch it on the computer screen, and it turns out what I saw was a spark or piece of shrapnel from the barrel or the bullet, and that's when knew for sure that I had completely missed by I don't know how far. I 14 inches. I mean, I was aiming at the base of his neck, so however long the neck of a bear is, plus his face. I was baffled, and I've never been one to, BS my mistakes, and it's part of hunting, and we try and practice to be responsible, taking the life of an animal. And I by far the worst shot I've ever made.
Well, you didn't completely miss.
Oh, I completely missed. I mean, the wound on his eye after I killed him, that was because of what that spark, that piece of metal looked like it.
Well, I know, but if you shoot a 3-pointer and it comes off the backboard, it's just a bank shot. Technically, piece of the bullet hit him in the eye.
That's right. Well, so in basketball analogy, then I rebounded, slam dunked it.
It was one of those moments where as soon as we figured out he didn't hit him, I'm like, oh, man, I felt bad. I didn't want to give him a hard time. And right out of the gate, Skip's like, missed him, eh? And then the jokes, the whole ride back, it was nothing but jokes.
He opened the floodgates.
Oh, man, we laughed so hard on that ride back.
And there's no denying, there was no covering it up. There was I couldn't soften the blow. So, why not just laugh about it?
Oh, you got to eat it at that point. Fully embraced.
It was. They gave me crap. And it, so we talked about it because there was kind of like Justin's deal. There was this bear and then another bear that was, quite a bit bigger, but I wasn't going to pass this, good shooter bear on the first sit. And so the whole next night and day, we're just joking that bear's got to be in the next Providence over, or maybe Alaska, because there was no way that bear was going to be anywhere in the same zip code after having something like that blow up in his face.
Yeah, you guys, like said, you were 45 minutes to an hour from us, and going in on our second night, Ty's like, hey, when we get done tonight, you got to tell Tim that you saw his bear and it was still running.
I wouldn't have doubted it.
And, we're laughing. We're all geeked up because that story is going to go down. Never in a million years thinking ever that you were going to see that bear again.
No, so I didn't want to screw up a spot and then just go hunt some other spot. He's got other clients, and so it's like, all right, I'll go back in there. I know there's another shooter in there that hopefully he wasn't around and didn't scare him out of the county, and I'm going to sit there for the rest of the week and hopefully something turns out. And yeah, that next night, right, pretty close to dark, the bear, we spot him through the trees, and he's coming in, and it, couldn't pick it up on the camera audio, but at some point you questioned, like, I don't remember exactly what you said, that it looked like the same bear.
Mm-hmm.
Something to the effect of, it looks like the same bear. And I was like, no, like, that freaking way. I assumed he meant size-wise. And then he's like, well, if it's not the same bear, it's a shooter. And I was like, oh, okay. So he comes in and gives me a perfect broadside, stands there, comes in cautious like he did the first time.
Maybe even a little more cautious.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, well, when you can't see or hear, it's harder to get through the woods. he was standing there, broadside, and so the morning after I missed, I went out and sat on the back porch and just dry fired maybe 30 times, just getting the feeling of how that trigger really is, so I didn't make the same mistake. And I took shooting sticks, and I've never been more nervous to shoot something at 20 yards with a rifle in my life. I mean, I'm squeezing the trigger and I'm just thinking, don't screw this up, don't screw this up, don't. And I got at the base of his neck, and I'm like, so I go behind the shoulder and I start to squeeze and kill him, and he doesn't go very far. Skip comes and we go walk up on him, and at this time I'm still thinking there's absolutely not a chance that this is the same bear. And so we walk up to him, and Skip's looking at him, and he's like, oh, look at his eye. And it's, he's got a wound right here, a fresh wound, and there's a stick right next to him. And I even asked Skip, because he says something about, as being the bear from last night. And I was like, did he hit it? I'm still in denial. I'm like, did he poke his eye on that branch right next to him? And Skip's like, no, it's the same bear. And we get to looking at him, and sure enough, that shrapnel, that it didn't poke his eye out or blow his eye out, but it was, hit him right there, and he was,
And it was his left eye.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And but yeah, it was pretty cool. Hindsight, I guess, if it had to work out after missing, it was cool that I didn't wound a bear and then shoot something else. But yeah, it was pretty wild. I don't know if you were as in disbelief as I was. I so surprised.
I can't believe he came back in.
No,
It's unreal.
Nobody. Skip, Ty. Nobody thought you'd seen that bear. They were like, "Well, we won't see him again."
Yeah, they won't now.
Was that the only bear you guys saw that evening?
Yeah,
There was a younger boar. That was in there.
I think it was the same one that the first night.
That walked underneath you?
Yeah, so we got in earlier that day, and same thing, like right out of the gate, he's right, underneath of us, and then he didn't stick around too long and leaves, but it was hours, 4 or 5 hours before that shooter came in, and I think we checked the clock, and I didn't show it on video, but I held my phone up because legal shooting time ended at, I don't know, 10:15, and it was like 10:10 or 10 o'clock. I mean, it was like 20 minutes before legal shooting light.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like you're going to have another hour. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, he waited till, he thought the coast was clear.
I don't blame him.
Or just thought, well, if that's the best you got, I ain't got nothing to worry about. So, yeah, it was, so that was day 3 of the hunt.
Yeah.
And then 7 days later.
Hey.
I'm done at this point with Shane.
Yes. Well, we went back in, obviously, that first spot, and the color phase bear was gone. The other 2 bears, Rusty and Krusty, were,
You went back, but you guys got in a tree stand.
We went back and we got in a tree that was probably 40 yards off from where we were. It opened up into a little poplar opening there, and it was a great spot because the lane that the bears were using to come up out of the draw was right down the barrel. And we had action almost immediately. It was the same bears we'd seen the day before, and then another sow came in. So we had 2 sows and 2 boars, and
Was it better being in a tree stand?
It was up until the point that Rusty was following the sow, and they circled around, go past our tree stand, and the sow keeps moving, but Rusty stops. And next thing I know, I feel the tree shake, and I hear claw marks, and I look down, and there's Rusty staring at me. So,
Well, I know on camera, he looked at you guys and
yeah,
Like-
bluff charge just
bluff charged the tree a little bit.
Yeah,
but it was a little bit more better.
I mean, you at least feel like you've got a minute, because
Yeah.
there's no doubt they can run up that tree before
Oh,
you.
yeah.
But they have to hold on. So there's a little bit of a time there that if one was going to try to get you out of a tree, he's got to figure out how to hold on and eat through your metal tree stand somewhat. There's a minute. Coming through that paper thin blind on the ground, I mean, if it was to happen, it's going to be all or nothing.
Yeah.
So you got a little bit of, you know, and if you're a tactical person, an elevated position is a better one, you know. So, but he comes
You
in.
would think so. Clearly, I'm not a tactical person.
But the next night in the tree stand, I didn't feel comfortable at all.
Yeah, so we get out of there because Rusty and Krusty are marginal bears, we'll say. Neither one of those bears, if you killed them, would you be ashamed of them? I mean, probably 250 pounds, good bears, just they were younger. And so we moved to another spot that's just a big, wide open poplar opening. And this time we've gone from 33 yards to it's 12 yards to the barrel, and we're 8 feet off the ground. And as we pull in is when he tells us, yeah, you'll know there's a color phase sow in here, and you'll know it's her because she's got 2 cubs in their color phase.
And,
Why-
and driving out to this stand, Ty is telling me this story of a previous hunter where he just wanted to go take pictures of bears, didn't want to kill anything. They drop him off. And next thing they know, they're getting a call on the radio. Skip. He's like, yeah. He's like, get me out of here. There's bears everywhere. He's like, what happened? Did you shoot one? He's like, yeah, I shot one. Get over here. So they pull up. What happened? 2 cubs had run up his tree stand past him, and as they ran past him, he was like, oh, or something, you know, reacted. And as soon as he reacted, that sow looked up and saw her cubs above him and saw him and ran up that tree stand, was butting the bottom of the tree stand, and he had to shoot her through the platform. So, you know, I get this story moving it, you know, going in there. And
So why was it, you know, you're rifle hunting, obviously, but why was a stand so close and lower to the barrel?
So this particular spot, Ty's got one client that he's guided for like 5 years in a row now that comes in every single year, and he brings a longbow.
Okay.
And this is the stand that the guy wants to hunt out of. So they literally built it for him. So he's 12 yards off the barrel and 8 foot off the ground on a ladder stand.
And it's tucked into a spruce tree or something, right?
Yeah, it's on a poplar, but it's a poplar that's growing right next to a spruce.
Yeah.
So they just kind of tucked you into the spruce, and I mean you're right there. I mean, you could kill one with a bean flip from this stand. And you know, we get the news about the sow. Well, he didn't give a size reference to the sow. And Ashley has a size reference in her mind because the first 2 days we've been in here and these 2 sows are running around that are probably under 100 pounds. So she's chill. We get in there, and the reason that we're in there, though, is there's a 400 plus, you know, big giant bear coming into this bait. And he's not all the time. If you see him, I mean, he's going to be no doubter. And we get settled, sitting there, just something caught my eye, and it's just all poplars and these, you know, the stages of the poplars. It's like a thicket, but we're looking up over the top of it, and I just caught movement probably 100 yards out, and my brain said it's color phase. So I throw the binoculars up, and I'm like, there's the color phase. And I can't tell size. It's just through, you know, I just caught a glimpse. And it's one of the cubs. And I'm like, oh, no. Because based off our last 2 days, it's just been hectic. So cub comes in and, plays around the barrel. And it was kind of a weird situation because you don't often see a cub come in for an hour by itself. No sign of anything. He gets on the barrel.
It was a little cub too.
Yeah,
It
he
wasn't
was.
a 2-year-old.
No, he was probably
Last year's.
50 pounds, maybe. Yeah, maybe last year's cub.
Oh, was he that? I didn't even think he looked that big.
40, 50 pounds, I'm thinking. Good German Shepherd size type height on him. So he was tall enough to stand up on his hind legs and look in the hole of the barrel with it standing up. Now, he could just barely see, and he eventually figured out a way. He got in between the barrel and the tree and shimmied up so he could get on top of the barrel. But it's an hour, and, we're on red alert because you know what it means when the cubs come in. So we're looking and we're looking and we're looking. We never see anything or hear anything. And you know how you use deer as your radar, and you're watching them because they're going to know something's coming along before you do. And
So at this point, though, it's an hour almost gone by. Has your level of alertness and
oh yeah, it tapered.
nerves kind of gone down?
That's where I was going. Is he was calm. He was never on alert. So we relaxed, and he comes under the tree, of course, because I'm thinking if she comes in, she's going to come in the same way he did. And I'm like, I don't want him past me. And of course, he comes under the tree and he's milling around and he's looking up and he circles around. He gets back to the barrel, and as he's making his way back to the barrel, he just stops and spins around and is looking off to our right. And I got some stuff in my way because it's a spruce that's, that we're close to. I can't see really. I'm having to look through limbs. But Ashley's facing that way, and she just grabs my arm again, and she's like, oh no, Shane. And I turn and duck down and look through the spruce limbs, and there is a grizzly bear. I mean, big old block. No neck. I mean, just yoked, standing there staring at us, probably 60, 75 yards out in this little opening. And she's like, are we going to be okay? And so she's got the lock on us, and this cub standing there. And it was a weird situation. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness he took off and ran.
Well, because she charged.
Yeah.
20 yards or something like that. Then he took off.
She kind of gave it the old and bounced in, and he gone. He takes off down the trail that he came in on, and instead of coming in behind him, she just loops back around and runs towards him. And I mean, fat, rolling. Mm-hmm. She may have been the biggest bear we saw to that point, bigger even than the 2 boars that we had in the first day. She was huge.
And the only thing I can think of is I'm in an 8-foot tree stand, and I can almost guarantee you if she were to come, she wouldn't have to hold on to the tree or nothing. She could just swat us out of there like a freaking fly. That's the only thing going through my mind.
Yeah. So she takes out, and now, we're on edge, and I got thumb on the safety type of deal, and runs off, settles down. We end up not seeing anything else for the evening.
But by golly, any squirrel,
anything, every click of a branch, we were just, it was like, you sleep well after a day like that. She was, I just remember the fact that she had no neck. It looked like her head was, and her ears were on her shoulders. That was the impressive thing to me. It was the size of her head, and I was just like, good gravy, Ty, why didn't you tell us?
There's a reason.
Yeah. So, you went back in there with me the next night because it was after that evening that, we'd kind of determined that Ashley needed an emotional break and have a little bit of downtime. So, you had obviously killed your bear, and you go back in there with me, and beautiful spot,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Well, we switched. We hung a tree a little farther away.
Yeah, we moved slightly, mainly because the ladder stand had settled and had me leaning so far forward. So we went ahead and moved back, what was that, maybe another 30, 40 yards, and Tim put us in the nosebleed seats, which was awesome because, you know, we could see so well from 25 feet up.
I'll also preface that night when we were looking at your bear, Ty said something about going back to that same spot and sitting on the ground. And
Yeah.
that was the point where I was like,
I forgot about that.
I'm not.
He was like, hey, you know, maybe, you know, we just throw something on the ground in there.
yeah.
And I was like, I don't think Ashley's going to go for that. So that's when we ultimately made the decision that Tim would
Yeah.
come in and do the deed. But, you know, from 20 plus feet in that poplar stand, you could have seen a bear coming for a couple 100 yards, which was, and then, you know, of course, we didn't see anything that evening. And of course, Ty comes in and I'm like, you know, nothing. We haven't seen anything. And he was like, man, you suck at this because there's one right there.
Yeah.
Literally, as he's pulling in, that same
cub.
cub had come to the barrel and is standing there in the light of the buggy.
Which was super unnerving. Having already heard this story from the day before when you guys hunted and talking about the sow, and now it's dark. We've gotten down out of the stand to go try to load up, and that same cub is now 15 yards from us at the barrel. And in the back of our head, I'm thinking, so if the cub's here, where's the sow? Now that we're on the ground and trying to get stuff loaded up. And
could you tell my urgency at all?
yeah, yeah, I think you kind of bounced out of the stand, hit the ground once, and then you were in the back of the side-by-side. You're like, can we get out of here?
Well, it's impressive for such a big animal how quiet they are.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's unreal.
It's probably, I mean, squirrels make twice as much noise. You'd never know that you have a 400-pound animal coming in.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the next day so Ty was like, oh, you gave him crap about not seeing anything. And he's like, okay, well,
Bet.
so
I did not. I just made a statement that I felt like it was a guide issue.
yeah. You never,
Terrible.
never
move.
give the guide crap. He was like, oh, you want to see some bears? I got a spot. We'll take you. You know, you got 2 days left to hunt. There's a lot of bears in here. We'll go in here.
Yeah.
So I went with you, and that was fun. Ashley would call it stupid or intense, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I honestly wish that I had known the water bottle trick prior to having gone in there. You know, I have bear hunted before, but I'm not a seasoned bear hunter. So the tricks of the trade will come to find out if one's coming up your tree, you just pour water on them. And it's like you poured acid on them for some reason. They run off.
So back up a little bit, though. We get in a tree, and right out of the gate, there's a bigger cub, or I guess, or just a small bear.
I still don't know what that was about.
I don't know if he got treed, if he went up there when we pulled in, or if something chased him up there. But he never came down, did he?
No, he was still there when we drove off.
Yeah. So there's a bear, I don't
40
know, 40, 50 yards from us in a tree, just sleeping. And then, you know, pretty much from the time we got hooked in to the time you killed one, it was nonstop. Bears coming and going.
Well, I was actually a little bit frustrated because, you know, here we are. I'm the only one left hunting in the entire camp. And while we're trying to get set up, similar to your situation, I don't have the bullets, the gun's still in the case, my backpacks. I mean, we just kind of threw stuff up there because Ty was like, you know, when you go into these spots, the more you can keep things normal, the quicker the bears respond to coming in. And if you're in there for an exorbitant amount of time, they hear too much noise, they might not come in. And we had to hang that stand, the camera stand. So it was like hang the stand, get the stuff up, and you guys rolled out, because everybody went on that trip to go hang that set. And you guys roll out, and we're discombobulated, to say the least. We're not ready to see bears. And I look up, and there's one 60 feet in the tree asleep. And as I'm panning my eyes down off of that 60 feet, I just see, a bareback rolling, coming at me. And I don't know what happened there, but that bear come up, kind of spooked, and took off back the other direction. And it was probably bigger than Rusty or Krusty. So at that point, it was the biggest bear I'd seen. And I thought, well, there just went my chance, running off down through the woods.
My sharpshooter reputation had preceded me.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is 3 minutes in, and I was kind of like, man. And I know he said there was a lot of bears in there. I had no idea what was about to go down for the next 4 hours. But so, we get settled, and that little cub's in the tree, and it turned into cockroaches. I mean, just every 180 degrees in front of us, there was bears just appearing all over the place. And so we had 2 boars come into the barrel. Again, kind of like, you know how it is when you're trying to judge these things and you don't have anything to compare them to? I think that's the hardest thing about being an unseasoned bear hunter is, my brain says these are pretty good bears, but are they pretty good compared to the sows I've been seeing? You don't have that frame of reference. So, I'm looking at Tim for, and he was like, let's kind of wait. He said there's a lot of bears in here. And back off behind them, three cubs and a sow, and then that thing got all crazy because she came in, and these cubs are running around us and doing what cubs do because she don't want them in by the barrel with those 2 boars in there. And
she gets pissy.
She's
was slapping stuff.
She wasn't putting up with anything, and that whatever you call that growl thing they do when they come into the other, and they start, and she was not in a good mood. And, I can't imagine having 3 kids running around all the same age. I would be either, but, and again, when they came in, they were, 100 yards out there. And where does one of those cubs end up? Climbing our tree. And that's when I learned the water bottle lesson, and, poured water on his head just to get him down because she's at the barrel. He's on the back side of us trying to come up our tree. Tim's whispering, pour water. Well, my backpack's in the way. I know he's coming up a tree, but I don't know he's coming up mine. And then Tim finally was like, pour water on him. I sense the annoyedness, and I look down, and I'm like, oh, and I pour a bottle of water on him, and off he runs. And then that stupid thing had a death wish because Mom walks off, and he runs over to the barrel with the 2 boars there, and they run him up a tree, and he ain't got a lick of sense. He's bluff charging at those boars and popping his teeth at them like he's somebody. And it was nerve-wracking enough because then, the other 2 cubs come around, and then the sow comes around, and she's at the base of our tree, and he's over there about to be eaten by 2 boars. And it was one of those, just go away moments. And, things kind of got settled down. Bears kept coming. We saw, 2 or 3 other boars, smaller boars, kind of, they were staying out in the outskirts and just walking around. And then I turned, and there's probably 75 yards back behind us. I don't know how I even spotted him, but I was just like, man, that's awful black between those 2 trees where they come down and meet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
And there was a boar, and he was just laying there where the 2 trees came together. He had stepped through it and was just laying there, the sun chilling. And I'm like, is that a bear between those two trees? And sure enough, pretty good boar.
Yeah.
And he tries to come up around, like we said, they all circle, so they all know you're there. The wind it's not irrelevant, but they're going to circle before they come into that barrel. And he didn't like it, so he turned around and went back. And finally, some bears come through, and everything starts going off to the west, down by where the river's down there. There's a slough, and I assume everybody's got a belly full, and they're going to go get some water.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of the lull in the hunt, long enough for them to go get water, and then bears started filtering back. And a sow came in, a different one, and this boar comes in and is going to go right past us. But he never checked up at the barrel, so we never even had time to really say, hey, was that a shooter? He's a pretty good boar. And he walks right under the tree, and I got some limbs right there. I mean, I think at one point I even clicked the safety off. And so I'm watching him, and Tim has swung the camera around, and we're really trying to get a look at what this bear is. And I'm looking, and I just take a look over my shoulder back at the barrel, and there's a big boar. I mean, just like never heard a peep, nothing. And I'm like, Tim. And he's, I think he's thinking, yeah, I got him. I'm looking at him. And this one's 12 yards away. And he spins around. And he's like, oh, and I'm shooting sticks up, and I'm looking real good at him because now I've had a bunch of bears to compare to finally. And I'm like, yeah, I'm shooting this bear. And Tim has to come all the way back around with the camera. And, in my mind, Tim got on the bear. Did exactly what I was supposed to do. Clicked the safety off. You got him. Gave it a second after the reply of yes, and then shot him. And what happened was I'm on the bear. Safety's off. Tim's just getting around. He swings the camera into frame. You got him. Yeah. Boom.
I just started kind of pushing in, and got surprised by the shot. But it's so cool though, because it can happen, right out of the gate, first hour, or on day 6.
Yeah,
it's freaking awesome out there.
But that, like I said, in my mind, I paused, but he didn't even get the H out of yeah. And I done squeezed the trigger, and Ty had said, shoot him in the neck if you can. And because the tracking job's easy. So, he's 12 yards away, and I was like, well, I got a absolutely brand new Savage 110 ultralight 308, and I got this Sierra SIG scope. He's filling the whole frame of the scope, and that's all the way down to 3. And I'm like, I can't miss. So I just found the distance between his ear and his shoulder and cut the difference. And when I squeezed the trigger, he just absolutely piled up on the ground. He went that far.
Easy tracking job.
Yeah. It was just like, boom. And the only thing that happened was he shook a little bit because of the percussion of the bullet. And it was like such a relief. One, because, we were exhausted in 4 hours. You've seen 12 bears, and that's just the ones that you can confirm.
Yeah.
We saw bits and pieces. No telling how many bears, but Ty said, you might see 20. So, but and to know that I was, we still had plenty of time. We were going to get nighttime photos because we'd killed early enough, and you guys were what?
You were
5-7 minutes away from us. So
yeah, I was looking for moose antlers.
Yeah.
Moose sheds.
Yeah. Won't sit in the tree next to a guy with a rifle, but goes roaming through the bear woods looking for
quickly
moose sheds.
she forgets.
I think she just gave up on life. Just didn't care anymore.
It was a 4-hour
Probably.
nap
Yeah.
Yeah.
prior
Yeah.
to that.
Nap,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Got
You
her
know,
energy
well, I
back.
mean, you know, that's one thing. Talking to my mom and my friends during the whole trip, they're like, you know, why are you going? Why do you want to be out there? And I was like, well, my mom said, just don't go out again. You know, motherly
yeah,
thing. I was like, no, Mom, I still want to go out there. Like, I still want to experience. I mean, I'm getting to do stuff and see stuff that not very many kids in my generation nor females get to experience. So I was like, nah. Like, despite everything, I hope I get to go back because it was just, it's awesome.
yeah.
How many kids my age get to say they got eaten by a bear?
Not many.
But for real, you
Yeah.
know, it's like there's a lot of people that have, you know, bear hunted for a lot of years that don't have the experience that you gained in 2 days.
Hmm. Yeah, super grateful for it. And I got to get my anger out on some beavers towards the end, so
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it worked out.
that
Is-
was fun.
collectively, I think everybody sitting here can say that was the most fun that can be had with a boat
Ridiculous.
and some weapons.
Yeah,
100%.
we did.
That was epic.
To help out and just to have some fun, go get some fresh bait. We went. I guess would you call that beaver hunting? We went to shoot some beavers.
Yeah.
Yeah, from
fun.
I didn't know what to
I
expect.
didn't either.
You know, when they say, well, let's go beaver hunting, and I'm like, how does this even work?
How far up in that thing do you got to reach to get to them?
I mean, you know, you talk to people who trap beavers, and, you
Yeah.
know, I thought, you know, how successful.
Well, and we get into the boat with how many weapons?
a
And I'm thinking, what is happening?
Yeah, we've got
one for each of us.
well, we had 2 rifles, a shotgun, and a 4-wheel drive, and a bow and arrow.
Yeah,
But I guess I didn't know what to expect, you know, because 2 nights prior to that, the guides had gone out, and I don't know how many of them went, but they killed 23,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's insane. Well, it is the Beaver River,
aptly named.
right? Those Indians, they really knew how to name stuff.
Yeah.
But that was one of those deals where you did not care if you were the person shooting because it was better to be sitting in the back watching what was
Yeah.
about to unfold.
Yeah.
That was a blast. Everybody, I ran back up on the one you shot with a bow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you shot one with a bow. Ashley shot one with a everything but the bow.
Everything but the bow.
Now, Justin, was that a 3 am? Justin's got multiple guns on
yeah.
it. And thank goodness
Well,
he
it's
shot
hard.
it
It was
with an
everything
arrow.
but the everything but the rifle.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Yeah, no 6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we had to get his arrow back.
That was the funniest thing, seeing that lighted knock swimming through the water.
I don't know what the laws are up there. We're definitely gonna have to check into it because next year, you know, I'm gonna ship up some of our bow fishing gear. If we're allowed to shoot them with, you know, string attached, how much fun would that be?
Drag the boat.
Shoot it, run it down. You know, you try to get it close enough to finish it off, but that would be so.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would, it is.
To explain, because again, we didn't know what to expect. You're going down the river slowly against the current, and we just happen to be in a place where there are beavers swimming everywhere.
Yeah.
And we had a slow night, from what Ty said. And once we got into them, there was a beaver around every bend, to say the least. And at that one little spot, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got the whole rose up on the front of the boat kind of moment. You know, you're the gunman, and it's Rose on the Titanic, if you can picture that. You know, we're up there like that, and George Washington style across the, and you're letting it rip.
Yeah. It is challenging. I mean, I obviously have some issues shooting a rifle anyway on that trip. But yeah, it's challenging sitting on the front of a moving boat. You know, you're in a little flat bottom.
The beaver's moving, you're moving,
Yeah.
the water's moving.
Yeah, it was trick. That's why I think, you know, was it? It was still daylight when you shot yours with a bow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the darker it gets, the easier it is to get up close to them. But yeah, I think it'd be just a blast. I don't know. I don't know if we can describe. I don't know how to put into words the fun, the amount of laughing. I mean, I think my guts hurt for days after that.
Pure chaos.
Oh,
I mean, that was like I said, it's as fun as you can, as much fun as you can have with those particular circumstances.
Oh yeah.
That's,
it's a blast. We would have gone fishing. We were there just a little early because they have seasons for fish, which is weird to me. Like, I mean, I can't. Fish are out of season. Like, I'm not, you know, hunting some. I don't know what kind of other fish would be out of season, but yeah, it was strange to not be able to rod and reel fish at all on the lakes because the season wasn't in yet. The ice was gone. You should be able to fish.
yeah, what was it? It was opening the day we left.
I
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that, I mean, it's fun enough trip on the beaver hunt that it like an incentive to kill a bear early.
Absolutely.
If you get to go do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw a couple moose on the way out. Just unbelievable sunset. Beautiful.
Beautiful weather the
Oh,
entire time
yeah.
too.
We got so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we've ever. I think I've been caught in some windstorms out there. I don't know that we ever had a really bad like rainstorm or anything. It's been fairly good weather. We've never had it freezing cold. There was a few years we went later in May or April. When were we there this year?
We left.
Beginning
Was
of
it
May.
First week of May,
End of
second week of.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
We
yeah,
left the
we've gone
30th of April.
later in May, and it's gotten warm, but never really had terrible weather. It's just the most photogenic. Like you can literally
Oh.
point a camera anywhere, any point during the day, and catch an amazing picture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Shane's pictures with his bear, the lake.
Oh, yeah.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
dusk, nighttime stuff was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I think it's fair to say that we'll all be going back to buck country outfitters again next year.
Yeah,
Even-
as long as
Heck yeah.
Dean will have us.
Even Ashley.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll get her set up, and maybe she'll get to hunt next year.
Hopefully Rusty's still there.
You can't use automatics. Well, that'll be it. I can't imagine that we will, but I have a feeling next year may be more fun than this year because
It's hard to top.
it's
but
going to be hard to top.
We got to try to get Matt out there. You know, he's never been bear hunting, never killed a bear. So put Ashley on a out in front of the camera and get Matt out in front of the camera. I just want to go run camera and go beaver hunting.
Yeah.
You bet.
I mean,
We may
I
need a
want
bigger.
to go bear hunting, but if I can just go
Right.
run camera and go beaver hunting, I will be fine.
We may need to get a bigger car though.
Yeah,
May need to get a bigger boat.
That too.
we need two boats
Yeah.
because we had that one skidding on the bottom. But they normally go with, what do you say, 2 or 3 people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
About 30. Were the beavers 30 pounds, something like that? They were
30,
big.
like 30 to 70.
Yeah, the big
Some
ones,
giants.
60 plus pounds, yeah. And we had 4 of them in there, and probably 30 pounders, I'm guessing 35 pounders, and then 5 people.
Yeah, it was a
Four-
load in that.
4
in that boat.
guns. It was a U-Haul trailer.
It's sometimes hard to think you got to wait a whole nother year.
Yeah.
It's like why can't you
Worth
just do it every other month or something?
What
Yeah.
a place.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
And won't even not even gonna get into the trip home. That was one of the most frustrating things.
Yeah, that was that. But what I
Right.
do want to get into, at least real quick, is buck country is an unbelievable place to go, whether you're deer hunting or bear hunting, because the lodge is it's so professionally ran. They set it up, they built that thing, with every amenity in mind for a hunter. But Dean and Janda and the boys are what make buck country. They're what make you want to go back and become family with them, because they are the greatest people.
Absolutely. And her cooking does not suck.
Unreal.
Janda is amazing. And, all things aside, you think back, I don't know how many outfitters you've hunted with over the years since we started this thing, and how many times, you've guided and been on. Every single one that we've ever went to that was, you would say, was professional. Everything ran like a sewing machine. There's a woman behind it that's supporting this or running it, making sure that the hunters are taken care of. And Janda's that person, and nobody goes without anything. You go to these other outfitters that, it's husband and wife, and the wife is probably, honestly, the harder working of the two, and everything that she's got to take care of. And Janda does that and Dean is, like, if you don't like Dean, something's wrong with you.
Right? Yeah. Amazing. It is first class hunting and even better people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if something was ever happened to Dean, the outfitter's, the outfit's going to be fine. Something happens to Janda, there will be no more buck country.
Yeah.
First of all, everybody will starve to death.
I mean, you can still come up there and Dean will put you on something, but you better bring some food.
You're right.
I mean, she is just, she's got it so planned out and figured out, down to not only, getting us fed, but styling the meals for the time of day, and got it figured out that the big meal's at lunch and not at dinner, because we get in at 11 o'clock at night. And I mean, she's thought of it all. And then she can bake anything.
That, I don't know, it's not peanut brittle, but something like that. That chocolately, caramely.
Yeah.
Cook it in a pan and break it up. And
crack cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced she could bake a moose patty and I'd give it a shot. There'd be something good about it.
All right, Janda, special request for next year.
Challenge accepted.
Gotta get inside, outdoors hunting big game. I come alive before opening day. It's a twisted addiction that calls my name. I gotta get inside, outdoors hunting big game.
Keep up with IOTV on social media for all their latest news, tips, and giveaways.